welcome to ABC Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Karen.
And I'm Mike, and we are back here with part 2, our second day of dialogues, looking at life with vegetables. Isn't life great with vegetables?
Of course.
Imagine not having broccoli or cauliflower or cucumbers. It would be so boring. Or gongqiancai.
I love that.
That's a good vegetable
And bean
too.
sprouts.
Bean sprouts.
And Brussels
Delicious.
sprouts.
Yes, chizi. I like my chizi.
Oh,
Well,
eggplant.
very, very. Or aubergine, as they call it in England. Vegetables, of course, are grown all around the world. And that's another exciting thing about vegetables. Cows are cows. Pigs are pigs. Chickens are chickens. They're the same everywhere.
That's right.
But if you go to Asia, if you go to Africa, if you go to Europe and North America, you will find different vegetables all over the place.
That's
so
right.
You can always try something new.
And they're always healthy for you, right?
And you can make your own. You can't really have a cow in your house or chickens giving you fresh eggs. Your neighbors will hate you.
Unless you're on a farm.
Unless you're on a farm. But if you live in the city, if you have anywhere you can grow things in a garden, you can grow your own vegetables for free.
Maybe I should try that.
It's a pretty cool idea, right? Free food, and it's healthy too. No, you can't grow potato chips and chocolate bars, so don't try. Only healthy vegetables and maybe fruit are easy to grow at home, as we will be discovering today.
Ooh, that sounds like a lot of fun. So how about let's get into it?
All right, I got my green thumbs ready. Mac and Greta are helping out at a community garden.
The cabbage is growing bigger, but it isn't hard when I touch it.
Okay, so we can't harvest it yet. However, the spinach and eggplants are ready.
For the eggplants, we just cut them off with a knife, right?
All right, here we are. Life with Vegetables is still our title, but we have Part B, Day 2 dialogue with a couple of different characters. Holly and Sean yesterday were talking about how being a vegetarian can be very good for your health. And Sean was losing weight, eating a very healthy vegetarian diet. Well, where does he get those vegetables from? Maybe a farm. Yes, maybe the supermarket too. That's where he buys them. But that's not where you grow them. You grow them on a farm, or if you're like Mac and Greta, maybe you grow them in your own garden. Let's check out what they're growing.
Okay, well, in today's dialogue, we know that we have two characters, Mac and Greta, and they're helping out at a community garden.
Oh, cool. So it's not just their garden, it's a community garden.
For the community.
Either way, if it's the garden behind your home or near somewhere where you live, or it's one for the community, kind of for the whole neighborhood, and everyone gets a little piece of land. What is a garden? Well, it is a little piece of land, usually quite small. We're not talking about a big farm here. We're talking about a small area, often near a house or a building, often inside a city too, but you can have a garden in the country. But a garden is basically a place where you can grow things. You might have grass in your garden. You might have a small area with flowers or a small area with vegetables, or it might all be flowers or vegetables. The flowers, of course, are there to look beautiful. You can cut them, decorate them, decorate your house and smell them. And the vegetables, you can grow them, take them inside, wash them, chop them, and eat them. That's what we're doing in our little garden.
And then, so Max starts off the conversation by saying,
the cabbage is growing bigger, but it isn't hard when I touch it. Wow, so we're right into the gardening business. When you're in the garden, if you're working there digging and cutting and helping the plants be growing and healthy, you are gardening, so they are gardening. And he's touching a cabbage,
love
which is
cabbages.
a large vegetable, right, with big leaves. You can cut it up, you can cook it, you can eat it plain. fine, whatever, but he's noticing it's still young. This is maybe like a baby cabbage. And we're learning something here. He's touching it, it's getting bigger, but it isn't hard. Yeah, cabbages can be quite solid.
That's right.
Like a soccer ball or something like that. I guess this is still a little bit soft, so he knows it's still too young to cut and take out and eat.
So I guess Mac knows about gardening and about growing vegetables because I have absolutely no idea.
Exactly.
Okay, how about let's go to Tina first and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 garden, garden 名词菜园花园 Emma planted flowers in her garden. Emma 在她的花园里种花。接着我们回到课文当中。
Thank you, Tina. And now we are back. So now Greta says, okay, so we can't harvest it yet. However, the spinach and eggplants are ready. Okay, remember how Mac was saying the cabbage is a little bit, it's very big, it's growing bigger, but not hard enough yet. So I guess Greta also knows, a thing or two about gardening. Is that, okay, we can't harvest it yet. We can't eat it yet. We can't take it out of the garden yet, right?
Exactly.
However, we have the eggplants and also the spinach, right?
They are ready, she says. That means we can harvest them, we can cut them, and take them in to eat them. Now, how do you harvest them? Harvesting, of course, is taking the things that have grown. When they are ready to eat, you pick them off the tree or cut them off the ground. You collect them, you take them in or take them somewhere to eat them. So how do you harvest an eggplant? Well, Max says for the eggplants, we just cut them off with a knife, right? So he's asking this as a question. He thinks he knows the answer. We cut them off with a knife, but he says right as a way of saying, is this correct? Is this true? Do I have the right idea here? And yeah, I guess an eggplant, right? It's kind of long. It grows from a low plant. So I think just getting a knife or some scissors or whatever and cutting it would be fine. But we're going to find out all about that after we find out all about the English and the grammar and the vocab from Tina.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的文法 cut off 切断剪断 cut 的三态同形我们来看看这个例句 Lucy cut off the broken branch from the tree Lucy 把树上断掉的树枝剪掉接着我们回到课文当中
Thank you, Tina. So now, so far from our dialogue, we know that Mac and Greta are working on the community garden. They're growing vegetables, and then they're trying to figure out which one is ready to harvest.
Right.
Now, we know the cabbage is not ready, but however, we have the eggplant and also the cabbage, right?
That's right. The eggplant and the spinach was the other one.
That's right.
Spinach and cabbage are similar. They have leaves, right? We call them leafy vegetables.
That's right.
Spinach, cabbage, lettuce is another popular one. So let's go to the second part of the dialogue, find out what they're going to do with all of these healthy, delicious vegetables once they harvest them from the garden.
Correct. For the spinach, we can cut the leaves at the stem. We can also pull out the whole plant at the base.
I like the second way better.
How come?
That way, each person in the community can take one bunch of spinach.
You're right. That's very considerate of you.
All right, back in the garden with Mac and Greta. They were talking about how they were going to harvest the eggplant, or the aubergine, as they call it in England, in Britain. And Mac was saying, we just use a knife, right? You just cut the thing off and take it in, put it in your basket, it's ready to go. Now, what about the spinach, the other green leafy vegetable? As we get back to the dialogue, Greta is going to tell us how to harvest those.
That's right. Okay, so Greta says correct because Mac asked the question, do we just cut the eggplant,
Eggplants,
right?
yeah.
Okay, it says correct, and that is the right thing to do. For For the spinach, we can cut the leaves at the stem. We can also pull out the whole plant at the base. So there are different ways to harvest it. But first, we're looking at this word here, leaf, and that is a noun. A leaf is the flat, usually green part of a plant that grows on a stem or branch. An example sentence would be, in the fall, many leaves change color and fall from the trees.
Yeah, of course. Trees are covered in leaves, but even on a single flower, you might have a couple of little leaves on it or something like that. And yeah, when we eat cabbage, lettuce, spinach, we are eating the leaves of those plants. So you can either cut the leaves at the base or pull the spinach out of the ground at the base as well. The base being the bottom of something, all right? That's usually the part where it begins or where it meets the ground or both. If we're talking about a triangle like this, the base would be the bottom part of it, the widest part in this case. If you're talking about a building, well, the front door, the first floor, is usually the base of the building. There might be a basement underneath the building. So it's basically what the thing sits on or the part that touches the ground as the rest of it grows up. So when they're cutting the base of the leaves or pulling it out at the base, it basically is where the plant is coming out of the ground. So down there is dirt, up here is plant. That's the base where they meet. And let's get back to Mac. He says, I like the second way better. Okay, so he would rather just reach down with his hand and gently pull it out of the ground from the bottom or from the base. He likes this way better. So he could cut the leaves of the spinach plant right at the bottom at the base, but he likes the second way better. That was the one about pulling it out of the ground and you get all the roots, but you'll have a little bit of dirt there too.
That's true,
Still
but
on
I
the bottom.
guess he doesn't mind,
Yeah,
right?
you can wash that off, as we'll talk about after we check in with Tina.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 leaf 名词叶子，它的复数形式是 leaves. The leaves fall from the tree in autumn. 叶子在秋天从树上落下。base 名词底部根部。The cat sat at the base of the tree. 那只猫坐在树的底部。文法的部分刚刚提到了 pull out 拔出拔掉。Pull 是动词，指的是拔拉。我们来看看这个例句。David pulled out a big nail from the wood. David 从木头上拔出一根大钉子。接着我们回到课文当中。
Thank you, Tina. And now we are back. So before we went to Tina, Mac was saying how he liked the second way better. That's about pulling the plant right from the root from the ground, right? So now Greta says, or she asks, how come? How come basically just means why. It's used to ask for the reason for something. So an example sentence would be, how come you don't want to go to the party? Basically, that just means, why don't you want to go to the party? How come basically means why? Can you tell me the reason?
Exactly the reason why. And so Mac tells her why or how come he likes to pull them and not cut them. He says that way, the pulling way, not the cutting way, that way each person in the community can take one bunch of spinach. Very, very true. Yeah, of course. Otherwise, if he cuts them, there'll just be a lot of leaves and everyone will have to kind of collect a little bunch. But this way, there's your bunch. It's still attached the way it was growing in the ground.
That's right.
That's very smart and very useful too.
And then Greta says, you're right. That's very considerate of you. Wow, when you describe somebody as considerate, what does that mean?
Thoughtful, nice, kind. They think about other people just as much or more than they think about themselves. So if someone comes over and you say, hey, have a seat, I'll get you a drink. Are you hungry? Can I do anything for you? They're being very, very considerate. If your friend calls and says, my dog died yesterday, and you go, oh, that's too bad. Do you want to go to the movies? That's not very considerate. Your friend could be very sad and upset and having a bad day. And so you should, oh, that's terrible. Can I do anything for you? I'll come over to cheer you up. That kind of thing. You're being thoughtful. You're being kind. You're thinking of other people and what they need to be happy. Let's go over to Tina, who is so considerate that she's going to teach us all about English.
All right.
Isn't that nice?
She's very considerate.
What an angel.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 considerate 形容词体贴的 Mia is very considerate of her friend's feelings. Mia 非常体贴她朋友的感受。文法的部分刚刚提到了 how come 为什么怎么说，这是一个口语用法，可以单独使用，也常用这样的句型哦。How come 加上主词加动词。我们来看看这个例句。How come Lisa is late again? 为什么 Lisa 又迟到了？接着我们回到课文当中。
Thank you, Tina. And now we are back. So from our dialogue between Mac and Greta today, we know a thing or two about growing vegetables and how to harvest them. And then if you want to share with the people around you, maybe you learn how to just pull the plant or the vegetable from the ground, from the root.
Absolutely. And it can be very easy to move it around that way without cutting it and having to keep everything organized and all that. So a great idea from Mac. Great work from both of them in the community garden. Let's go over our dialogue one more time and then we will be back. But for now, it's see you tomorrow when we will have more wonderful things about wonderful vegetables.
Stay healthy, guys.
Mac and Greta are helping out at a community garden.
The cabbage is growing bigger, but it isn't hard when I touch it.
Okay, so we can't harvest it yet. However, the spinach and eggplants are ready.
For the eggplants, we just cut them off with a knife, right?
Correct. For the spinach, we can cut the leaves at the stem. We can also pull out the whole plant at the base.
I like the second way better.
How come?
That way, each person in the community can take one bunch of spinach.
You're right. That's very considerate of you.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 Garden 名词菜园花园Leaf 名词叶子 Base 名词底部根部 Considerate 形容词体贴的。接着我们来看文法的部分 Cut off 切断剪断 How much hair do you want me to cut off? 你想要我帮你剪掉多少头发 Pull out 拔出拔掉 The dentist pulled out 2 of Daryl's teeth. 牙医拔掉 Daryl 的2颗牙齿How come? 为什么？怎么说 How come Ben didn't tell you about that? Ben 为什么没有把那件事告诉你？以上就是这一课的重点单词跟文法。那我们下一课再见喽，拜拜。
Welcome to Which One Fits, the game where we tackle confusing English words.
I'm more than ready for this one.
Today, we're going to sort out the difference between voice and sound.
But before we dive in, let's go over how the game works.
In Which One Fits, we'll read a sentence with a blank, and you have to choose between voice and sound.
So join us and challenge your English intuition.
All right, here's your first sentence. Her singing blank was so beautiful that everyone stopped to listen. Which one fits?
I think it's voice.
Yes, it is. Voice means the sound produced by a person when speaking or singing. Okay, next one. The wind made a strange blank outside the window last night. Which one fits?
That must be sound.
You got it again. Sound is any noise or tone not necessarily coming from a living being. That was really impressive. All right, time for a breakdown.
First, voice is a noun that means the sound a person makes when speaking or singing. For example, her voice was so soft that I had to lean closer to hear her.
Right. Voice is personal and distinct. You can often tell who it's coming from.
Now, sound is also a noun, but it's more general. It can be any noise you hear, like music or nature. For example, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore was soothing.
Sound can come from anywhere, not just a person, and you often experience it in your surroundings.
You can think of it this way. Voice has a speaker and sound fills the space around you.
Exactly. It's clear once you get the difference.
And here's something fun. You can have both in the same sentence. He raised his voice to be heard over the sound of the traffic.
So a voice is a kind of sound, but not all sounds are voices.
Right. And now you'll never mix them up again.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Bye-bye.